Losses are driving farmers to desperation.
Yeah.
Some farmers already taking their own lives. In Davos, you said you would only step down as Agri-Secretary if you've ticked off items in your bucket list. My question is, what is in that list? And what will you specifically do to implement for farmers to feel a change in their lives today, in the short and medium term?
As a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought that up because we always have been talking about production, non-importation, etc. And we have to always remind ourselves that what we are really talking about is the livelihood of the farmers as well. Not only the supply of food, but of the pricing of food, but also the livelihood of farmers and the future of farmers. I mean, I think it's a much quoted statistic that in the Philippines, the average farmer is 57, 58 years old, and the young people are not that interested to enter into farming. So there are all of these multifaceted problems that we face in terms of agriculture. So again, in the short term, the increasing prices of food products is alarming, and that's why we now have to, whatever we do, we must import. I think my sentiments about importation are clear, but it is an emergency situation that has been brought about by neglect of the agricultural sector for many, many years. And therefore, our production is well below our demand. Therefore, we must import. So, because of the chaos that we saw within question when it came to sugar, when it came to the onions, we did not know how much of the commodity was actually in the country. We're starting to get a handle on it now, and so we are going to put in terms of sugar. I mentioned specifically before that we will from now on maintain a 2-month buffer stock. That is to mitigate the speculation. Alam mo, normal yan sa negosyante. Pag alam nila magkaka-shortage, they will keep it hanggang tumaas yung presyo. Maybe you can call that hoarding, but it's a business practice. And that's what we hope to avoid. In terms of onions naman, ganun pa rin ang sitwasyon. We are not producing as much as we consume, and therefore we still have to import. But the schedule of importation, both of sugar and onion, all of the other commodities, the schedule is very, very important. It's not just a question of one lump importation at the beginning of the year. It has to come in at the proper time. So you're not competing with local farmers. So that's a very simple first step. Pag maayos na yan, that is one box that I've been able to tick. Now but we come back to the problem of production. So that again, we still have to put into place. Once I know that the value chain has already been put together, never mind that it is functioning yet, but we already know what needs to be done in each part of that value chain, and we have the means and we have a plan. Then we will have a secretary who will then take my place and will implement that plan. Basta alam natin yung nakakaintindi doon sa ating ginagawa. So those are the essential elements that I'm talking about. There's some reorganization that needs to be done in the Department of Agriculture for the simple reason that we are doing different things from what we were doing before. And so you have to restructure the bureaucracy in like fashion.
I wanted to ask, you said you have a bucket list that needs to be ticked off. Would you share some? I mean,
well, that's it.
That's it.
That's basically it. I mean, within that subject matter, hindi lang yan. I mean, if you go into detail, there are still very many things that we need to do. In terms of production, we have to help the farmers. We have to we are trying to adopt new techniques for farming that we will be able to use new technology, new varieties, start with the R&D, all that of and especially in the area of agriculture, the overarching issue is climate change. we have we're having a very tough time uh, scheduling these things because the weather keeps changing. And that one of the reason I've also made contact with several other countries and my counterparts in several countries is that we are trying to develop what we refer to as non-traditional suppliers. And because of the price of fertilizer, the lack of export of wheat, rice, of course, is another thing that we import. Corn, we were going to have to import. But with the shocks that have hit the global economy and with the supply chain problems that we see everywhere, then that is something that we have to work around. And the way to do it is to have many sources of supply so that whatever happens, we have somewhere to go. Hopefully down the road, in a few years, we no longer have to worry about non-traditional supply because we will be able to produce enough for ourselves.
May mga comments po ang mga senador na mag-appoint na po kayo ng secretary po sa DA and other groups para daw po mas matutukan ang ahensya. Your comment on that?
For me, there really are things that I can do that if there was a secretary and he or she did it, hindi magagawa pero matagal, madaming diskusyon and they'll have to come up. Well, the president, they cannot say no to. And pag hindi nila ginawa yung utos ko, pwede kong sitahin. Yung secretary, pwede, alam mo na, you know, it can still be may pakiusap pa. And so that's what I bring to the position. Is that when I make a decision, I say, this is what we need to do, this is the plan, every one of you follow this plan. You do this, you do that, magtatasking tayo. Kailangan masunod yun. And if not, then I can chastise them, I can move them aside, push them into other positions, etc., etc., etc. But generally speaking, if the president asks you to do something, they'll do it. If somebody else will do it, they may do it, they probably do it, but they may not. So we want to take that wiggle room out of that system.
Ang aking pong katanungan ay marahil ay katanungan din ng mga simpleng mamamayan tungkol sa inyong foreign travels. Ang una po ay yung binanggit nyo na ang Pilipinas ay naging bahagi na ng tinatawag na BIP Club, Best Performing Economies in Asia. Paano po natin ire-reconcile yan dun sa iniisip naman ng karaniwang tao na pagpunta niya sa palengke, mahalang sibuyas, mahalang iba't iba pang presyo ng bilihin. Tapos tayo ay best performing economies, Mr. President.
Dahil yung inflation ang pinag-uusapan. Isang aspeto lang yan sa ekonomiya. Kaya yun talaga problema, totoong problema yan. Dahil bumababa na ng konti dahil nagpapasok na tayo ng sibuyas, nagpapasok na tayo ng asukal. So kahit paano, the supply will feed the demand at bababa ang presyo. Kaya yun ang para sa akin ay the reason na tinitignan ang Pilipinas na magandang performance dahil sa ibang bagay.
Okay.
Kasi maghanap ka ng bansa na 7.1% ang growth rate. Na bumaba ng 4.2% ang unemployment rate na mas mababa ngayon kaysa sa bago ng pandemya. Ibig sabihin, nakapag-create tayo ng halos 2 million jobs mula noong 2020 hanggang ngayon. At yung pati yung peso, medyo tumibay na. Kaya palagay ko, yun, hindi lang ang inflation kasi lahat naman ng ibang bansa, ganyan din ang inflation. Kaya kung titignan ninyo, ay sasabihin, ito yung mga ibang bagay na kaya't matibay. Kaya gumawa, kasi wala namang VIP noon . Nangyari lang yan dahil nagpe-present tayo doon sa Davos at marami tayong pinakita, marami tayong paliwanag, marami tayong diskusyon sa kanila. Sabi na kasama na kayo dun sa grupong yun, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Philippines. So sa Asia, yun ang tatlo na uunahin nilang tignan as investment destinations.
Pero ito pong performance natin sa ekonomiya ay siguro in the following months or days mararamdaman din ng karaniwang mamamayan.
Oh, siyempre, hindi naman kasi basta magpasok ako ng ilang tonelada ng sibuyas, bukas bababa na yung presyo. It has to go, dadaan pa sa sistema yan. It takes a little while. Pero hindi naman ganun katagal. This year talaga, yan ang problema kung hindi nagpapatulog sa akin yung inflation eh. That's what I lose sleep every night over, is how to bring down inflation. So I'm determined to make sure that the inflation starts to come down in the first quarter and mag-normalize na pagkatapos nun.
Okay. Second question ko po, foreign travels din. Ang puna naman ng iba, bakit ba ang Pangulo ay travel ng travel? Ang dami namang problema sa bansa. Ano ba ang, sa tingin po ninyo, mahal na Pangulo, yung travel ninyo na talagang merong immediate effect sa mga Pilipino?
Ay, hindi, proseso yan.
Matagal.
Proseso yan. Hindi yan yung pupunta ka, tapos kakausapin mo yung korporasyon, nagustuhan ka, ito malaking pera, sige, sa'yo na. Hindi ganoon. Magpapakilala muna tayo. Dahil pagka hindi tayo bumiyahe at nagpakita diyan sa mga conference na yan, hindi tayo iniisip. Wala sa isip nila ang Pilipinas. Siniisip lang nila, dito tayo sa Vietnam, diyan tayo sa Indonesia, o doon tayo sa China, doon tayo kung saan-saan. Hindi Pilipinas ang iniisip. Kailangan natin ipakita ang ating ginagawa para naman mapaganda ang potential na investment nila na dadalhin nila dito sa Pilipinas. Yun ang halaga ng mga biyaheng yan. At hindi lang yun. At meron din dahil sa halimbawa sa Davos ay ang subject matter laging pinag-uusapan ay how do we cooperate in a fragmented world, dahil nagkaka-fragmentation na raw ang buong mundo dahil sa mga pangyayari, sa pandemya, sa Ukraine, lahat ito. Paano ngayon natin ibabalik ang kooperasyon? Dahil naman, sang-ayon naman lahat sa pag-iisip na ang kooperasyon na sa bawat bansa ay mahalaga at hindi kakayanin ng kahit sinong gaano kayaman na bansa na nag-iisa. Kailangan may mga partner yan, kailangan may kaalyado yan. Kaya yun naman ay pagpunta natin sa mga ganyang conference, ay masasabi natin, the Philippines can play this part in fostering or in encouraging that cooperation. May lugar tayo. We are participating in the issues and the discussion and in our efforts in the community of nations. Kasi kailangan kasama tayo dyan. Pangatlo, I'm the new kid on the block. Nobody knows who I am. Kailangan ko magpakilala. Kasi pag sabi, bago ito. Sino ba to? May alam ba ito? Tama ba yung mga ginagawa? Ano bang klaseng tao yan? Yun ang it's important also na magkaroon ng personal. Halimbawa, personal sa mga leader. Na kaya ko ngayon, hindi ko kaya gawin yun. Dati, ngayon kaya kong buhatin ng telepono, tumawag dyan sa lahat, tatanggapin naman ang tawag ko. At meron na kami mapapag-usapan. And that's very, very important. Kasi yun na nga, like in President Xi's case, siguro, never pa tayo nagkaroon ng contact at that level. Ngayon, dito nga sa mga ASEAN, sa mga APEC, nakilala ko na silang lahat. Kahit papano, meron ka ng koneksyon doon sa mga taong yan. So that's important. That's very important, lalo na. Ito nga, yung kagaya na sinasabi sa Davos, in this fragmented world.